going on YouTube, mediums, independent media, foreign media, national media, all media, media worldwide. The topic of discussion that I'm going to delve into today will be focused on the rioting and the George Floyd hip hop psyop and what it has turned into now. Ignore any external sounds such as other forms of media that might be operating within my vicinity, such as Univision, which there's a lot of people that are fans of that here, except we don't watch. I don't watch that per se. Okay, so disclaimer, and that wasn't any type of promotion. That was just the truth. Um, the whole George Floyd situation, for those that are unaware, it was a man by the name of George Floyd who was, I believe he was at a public place. There was an altercation that took place because of a failure to listen to an order that really shouldn't have been followed to begin with. And he was struck to the ground, and they started, twisting him and doing all that shit. And then what ended up happening was that people quickly, of course, civilians were there, they filmed it, and they quickly turned to the social mediums very much in the way that everybody does nowadays. The social mediums have become a tool that is in the power of basically anyone and everyone. So they call the internet a fascist stream, but I don't see it that way because what people are doing, in essence, is bringing the reality of what's going on. So you have protests in other parts of the world. You have them in Crimea. You have them in Istanbul. You have them in parts of the Gaza Strip. You have them now in the U.S. But let's remind ourselves these types of problems occur worldwide. You have them in Ukraine. So it's nothing new. First and foremost, it's nothing new. However, the U.S. is currently being viewed in a way that is basically saying, for years the USA has told other countries, hey, you guys are wrong for doing this and such, but now look at us, we're slowly being ushered into a police state, and many have said that it has been coming for a while. The question that most people and analysts, I would say, in these sectors would have is, was every other country right, or was the U.S. wrong for everything it's done? There's no one easy answer to that because we have so many subsidiaries, so many divisions, so many type of internationally aligned, now nationally, groups that serve a function, such as NATO or intelligence divisions or civilian sectors or law enforcement or even activists, as activism has seen a large growth in the past decade. We're now bringing attention to almost everything. That said, the protests with the whole George Floyd situation, there's so many people that are using that as a catalyst for something else. So never mind the fact that we still have the whole pandemic situation going on, and now we have internal strife within our own country, and it does not seem to be letting up anytime soon. And it seems that there are organizations out there that know this. They know what we're dealing with as a nation. Now, while everybody's focused on those organizations, the whole world knows exactly what we're facing. So it's a bit of a monitoring pyramid in terms of the situation. And the biggest problem that I've seen is that these individuals that are out there actively protesting, the ones that are actually protesting and feel a deep affinity and connection to the situation that involves George Floyd, are actually protesting, and these are the people that, from what I've seen on media, from what people have posted, and there's so many examples, these are the people that certain law enforcement officers are going after. Not all of them, but certain ones, certain divisions are actually going after these peaceful protesters. And yet when they have these other looters in groups and smashing up stores, it's like they can't act. So what does that show? Does that show terrorism as a strategy? But from what part? From both? It can't possibly be both sides, can it? Can terrorism be used as a strategy by both the oppressor slash oppressed? So the terrorist strategy or setup that they're both employing, both sides have a thing, is schematically shown by the core belief system, which is the inevitable victory, which is one of their beliefs, and then the good cause, which is the first input, and the second input is the evil, so the enemy. And then that's basically the traditional interstate war. Each side tends to mobilize trinities along the following simple, chauvinistic but enduring lines. And then that crosses into where we have national self-confidence as victory is inevitable because of that. Hey, that kind of sounds like the something that happened before, almost like World War II. Promotion or defense of the good people is one of the inputs, and the enemy who threatens or resists the good must be evil. Who do we have to quote for that? We have Maurice Tugwell, Terrorism and Propaganda, Problem and Response, P. Wilkinson and A. M. Stewart, Contemporary Research on Terrorism. We also have Lewis, David C. Rappaport, Jonah Alexander, and Arlington, VA. Okay, so without getting too much into depth, because I know some of these things aren't really what most people would get into depth on, understanding that there's both a pro and a con, but there's also a good and a bad, and there's also the cause and no cause, that forms a bit of a pyramid in between everyone who's involved. So you have the police force using excessive force, and then you also have the civilians using excessive force. There was a video that somebody put up that there were officers looting certain areas. I can't really confirm, but this wasn't in my state, but there was a video, and I'm certain of this because I saw it on social media. What are they gonna do? Are they gonna green screen it and fake it, like some special effects? Highly doubt it. So while you have actual people that are protesting for the sake of minorities and everything that's been happening, you also have the other side that is taking this as an advantage, and that tends to happen all the time. My one question is, what is America expecting? And what do I mean by that? Why are they setting up like sniper shots? Why are they setting up like tactical formations? Why are they setting up all this shit? And I have a friend who lives in Kansas City, and that's where they had a lot of snipers set up. So I'm just wondering, like, what the fuck is the purpose for that? Do they expect like a full-on assault from, like, they said it was outside influence. How outside influence gets inside of our guarded cities is beyond me, and probably what most civilians are going to be wondering. So what the fuck were we paying for in terms of security? And so you really have the crux of the problem being that every single activity is coordinated. It has now turned into a psychological operation and a hypnotic operation. And if you don't believe me, go back and watch the TV. That was supposed to be a bit of a psychological joke, but nonetheless, let's tune into the live feed of what we're actually witnessing here. And I don't say that as either pro or con, but you have to understand that when that happened, as a minority, of course, yeah, we're all going to see it the same way. Yet as people that live here, I do not believe that every minority is a terrorist or that every minority is going to use this as an opportunity to loot. And that's where these security sectors are supposed to be involved, right? That's what we're paying for, apparently, right? That's what my fucking past tax dollars have gone to. In short, terrorism is a subsidiary form of revolutionary warfare, follows the same pattern in this respect. Indeed, because it is right on the line between peace and war, more than any other conflict form, dodges from one side of the line to the other. One day its leaders address public through the news media in the manner of politicians. The next day they blow an airliner out of the sky to undermine their point. They are in the business of changing people's minds. Who said that? 1 second here. I didn't have anything outlined. I believe that was Bernard Lewis or Ayatollah Khomeini and Maurice Tugwell. So they really delved into this chapter, or contributed rather. That's basically what we're dealing with here in the US. And people are slowly waking up to the fact that if it wasn't outside influence, it was internal division. And we have not come that far since the days of the Cold War, the Gulf War, Vietnam War, World War II, Civil War. So when you have that level of cognitive dissonance among the people, and for the ones that just watch television and that's all they do, when you have that level of dissonance and you can't reach your audience, this is actually what you're witnessing in real time. You're witnessing every single psychological hypnotic operation fall apart. And what does that do? They're only as strong as a people, as their society. And so when you have all these people believing an idea, a set of principles, or have anything such as an emotional affinity toward the situation, or have a political stance, etc., it causes even more distortion. So they can't focus on what the fuck was supposed to be happening for the next year or something. They're focused on what's happening now. So when you have that level of disparity, input one, input two, it causes a cognitive dissonance, and you're rendered with what the Western world is facing now. And as I stated at the beginning of the video, we're not the only country that's dealing with this type of thing. However, we are at the center of it all now, because for so many years, we've been telling other countries, hey, you've all had it wrong. We had it right. And now apparently everyone's, I don't even know, like every single thing on every single type of media has all these things from here in the US, and it's like, dude, how'd you even get that shit? But at the same time, our own civilian population is like, dude, how did you get this shit? And it's like, wow. So you have it happening internally, externally, etc. at all. And first and foremost, the Antifa thing is apparently been labeled as a terrorist organization. And Black Lives Matters has been dubbed a terrorist organization. Apparently civilians that understand the law and within the permissible statutes will stand their ground have been labeled terrorists. Apparently police officers doing their duty or whatever they're told, because they just get told orders, are now being looked at as terrorists. I think it is safe to say we have in the USA widespread domestic terrorism from all sides. Just a quick little update video for everybody. I wasn't able to get out to the protest today. However, I am going to try to get out there as soon as I have some money. As you all understand, I'm dealing with a few legalities and I don't have any money. However, I do what I can and I inform. This is where we're at. 10/21, May 31st, UTC. Have a good day, evening, morning, depending on where you're situated at.